Welcome back to the Gametime Greatness Podcast. I'm your host, Brandon Scott, alongside with my co-host,
VP Rex.
It's game time. Game time. Game time. We winning. It's game time. Game time.
Good to have you back. We are fully in the swing of fantasy season. I don't know about you, but I have been constantly thinking about football all day since we drafted last night. It is quite enjoyable that I can say we have football in 3 days. Who knows when this will come out? It might be coming out the day of football. So quite excited. Jake, what are we going to talk about today?
So we had our draft last night, and first off, that was a blast. I think this is that my timer for how long I have to speak.
Since we went too long, I decided my mic would be the hourglass to help limit our blabbing.
So I think the draft, in between the draft and the first kickoff, is probably the most fun part about fantasy football, because you get to see your team and you're like, oh, they're all going to be so good. They're all going to be amazing. Before all the injuries hit, before all the disappointment sets in, before you lose a game.
Week one reality kicks you in the freaking face. I mean,
yeah. Even on Saturday when college football started, I was enjoying it, but I also was like, man, this just isn't that, like, it's
not the same as fantasy.
It's just not as fun as I wanted it to be.
Well, we're gonna kind of get down to what we are talking about today. We alluded to it last podcast, was that we kind of players that you wish you got on your team. That way, halfway through the season, you can be like, I knew it. I told you I wanted them. I just didn't end up with them on draft day. And everyone has their own approach to it. Some people didn't answer. Some people did. You know how it goes.
And that's okay. It's Labor Day, so we won't hold people accountable for responding.
Correct. And then Jake, we're also going to give our personal power rankings. Yeah. Not super draft analyzing, but we're going to run through that quick.
They're just preliminary and just firing off the cuff. Like, I like that team. Wasn't too hot about that team, that kind of stuff. So 8th place, Zach Chambers said he wanted Evans, Josh Jacobs, and Michael Gallup. Shocker here for me is Josh Jacobs.
He was telling me he really wanted Josh Jacobs, and I'm like, he's going to be there for you at your 4 or 5 for sure, because nobody's going to want Jacobs. And then sure enough, Matt snipes him right before Zach's pick. I was kind of surprised. Jacobs is the back there still. I just think there's a lot of question marks on how long that will last this season.
Yeah.
If he's the guy, it's going to be a great pick there.
I definitely thought Matt was going to take Allen Robinson right there at the 4-10 spot, but I was shocked with the Josh Jacobs. Also want to throw in apologies if all of us came across harsh as judging people for using the footballers or UDK. I listen to them very frequently, and I think it's great content.
I also think that
we just think it's funny, and it's just a little like flame here and there.
I think they have a lot of great advice, truthfully, too, because they're pretty knowledgeable between the three of them. Like, you may not agree with one of the person's opinions, but usually the three of them can combine for some pretty good advice.
Yeah.
I'll agree real quick with Gallup. Gallup's going so late. I think he's going to be the clear number 2 in Dallas. He's not on my list, but I think that's a good person to pick for this list. And I do appreciate that some people picked the later round players.
Yeah. Well, so one thing about Gallup, this year there weren't that many Dallas Cowboys drafted. I'm not really sure why. Their offense definitely isn't as glamorous as last year with Amari Cooper leaving, but it was Pollard, Zeke.
I would say, though, that all of the people that were drafted high because of that. You got to look. You got Zeke in the 3rd. You got Schultz in the 4th. You got CD in the 1st. Their skill positions that are left are going really high because of the vacated targets, I would say.
And I think I brought that up because I think they should be drafted. I think it's going to be a good offense still, but. Oh, time for me to stop talking.
All right. Moving on to Grant. He decided to just go with the high name players. He went with Kamara, Pitts, and Diggs. And I think Diggs is on here with Ethan too. I'm not completely sure. But I know Grant really wanted Kamara. I don't know how many people stayed on long enough, but Grant had already made a logo for his team name surrounding Alvin Kamara, but then Henry fell to him and he could not take him. It's definitely going to haunt Grant if Kamara has a career year and Henry is not just average, which I don't think Henry can be average. It's more like it gets hurt, I guess. and then Pitts and Diggs, and then Diggs was kind of a similar thing. Diggs went before you could even have a chance. So I would say that one probably shouldn't haunt him or Ethan too much. And then Kyle Pitts, he wasn't in a position to draft Pitts, so he shouldn't feel too bad. But this is Grant saying that he thinks those players are going to have a good year.
Yep. Another note. So we're looking at the draft board right now, or at least I am, and Ethan's little icon just went live. Like
he's looking at the draft board again.
So funny. I did that all last night, to be fair, but anyway, yeah, I like those 3 players. We'll probably see very similar picks throughout the rest of the managers too.
Go ahead and start us off with Parker.
Yep, Parker has Swift, Sutton, and Pitts, and man, I couldn't agree more. I think these are 3 players are going to be amazing. My inside Denver guy, that's not Noah, he said Sutton's the guy, Judy is not. So for those reasons, I was all about Sutton. Swift, little known fact, I was actually going to take Swift at 8. But then, so I watched 2 highlight video, or I watched like 4 highlight videos of like the running backs that were falling in that range. And I like Najee's the best. So, and Najee is just a little bit more safe workload, I hope. But I think Swift's going to be awesome this year. Definitely has top 3 or 4 potential.
Sutton didn't make my list because I didn't have a chance to draft him. But I do think he's going to be a top player this year. I just think, Russell Wilson is generally going to have 2 top 24 receivers. So, he was pretty much being drafted at his floor, I felt like, with pretty high upside because he's a talented guy. All right. Ethan had Diggs, Zeke, and Penny. I like the addition of Penny. I do agree with it. Zeke and Diggs. I think Diggs is going to have a good year. I think most people would agree unless there's an injury.
Penny went so late.
He did. He went really late. And I told Jarvis to draft him, and that made Ethan really mad. And I do apologize for that, Ethan. But Jarvis, if you win, you can sneak like my initial on the trophy or something.
I'm shocked he wanted Zeke. I feel like who got Zeke? CC? I don't know. I'm mixed about Zeke. I think he's still good and has a good workload, but his productivity is still a red flag to me. But
I was getting Zeke in the 4th round in a lot of the best ball leagues, and I was like, wow, this is crazy. But then we started going high 3rd again. I was like, okay, it's kind of about right. So yeah. I'm gonna do Matt's, that way you can read Jarvis's. So Matt had Saquon, Sutton, another Sutton, and Bateman. Yeah, that's a good list right there.
Sell me on Bateman real quick, because I kind of just didn't.
140 targets are missing from the Baltimore offense, and they added nobody. Okay. And Bateman was solid down the stretch last year when he came back. He only started week 9. I don't think he played. He was on the PUP to start the season. He averaged 10 points a week with Tyler Huntley. So and he's a 1st-round talent. So they want to use him. They want him to be good. He's on my list actually. So, and it's not that I think he's going to be amazing, but I had to pick. My list is who I might regret not taking. And he went 1 pick after me, and I was struggling between him and Hawkins, and that was the 1 pick. It took me the full minute 30 to decide. Nice.
Yeah. Well, Mike, probably good to know for you that Andrew's going to be really good. I didn't know that. I guess I didn't piece together Marquise Brown left.
Mike took Andrews and Bateman actually.
Oh, wow.
And Dobbins. So he's really heavy on that.
Oh, man, we have a lot of teams this year. They're so leveraged on one team. Oh.
Also, I'm just now realizing Mike actually texted me today 3 random players. I was like, why is this guy saying Davis? I literally said, you didn't get Dave Davis. And he said, what was the assignment? But I just still had no clue what he was talking about. So he did fill his list, and I'll go ahead and read it now. Gabe Davis. So shout out Jake. Nice pick. Damian Pierce, shiny new toy. And then he said Higbee, #classic. And really? I said, you didn't get Gabe Davis or Damian Pierce. You're a liar, LOL. So a little awkward. Sorry about that, Mike. But I do like your list.
He drafted Higbee.
I think he got auto drafted.
Oh.
I am kind of confused by you included him though.
That's really funny.
Go ahead and go to Jarvis's.
Yep. Jarvis sent me, I'll just read verbatim what he said. Someone I wish I could have drafted. Nobody. Never doubt your team and your decisions. Bad for team morale.
That's the players coach right there.
Yeah. I mean that's
a Kevin Sumlin. That's a Kevin Sumlin quote if I've ever heard one.
Someone's the biggest loser ever.
Not throwing shade, Jarvis, just saying. I have Judy, Damian Harris. So I actually put Harris / Penny and then Bateman. And this goes along with what I was just saying. All these players like went 1 or 2 picks after me and I couldn't decide. So Jerry Judy has been getting slandered. Let's talk about it real quick. Nobody respects the guy. Like, oh, what has he done? What has he done? Okay. He was a rookie with Drew Lock. He performed decently for the crowded receiver room he could have his rookie year. It was okay. Let's not forget, this guy was drafted ahead of CeeDee Lamb. So this is a talented individual. This isn't just, I'm not saying draft capital is everything, but the guy's talented. He murdered A&M. We all witnessed it multiple times. Let's also talk about that Sutton is continually getting injured. And while he is good, Sutton's always he's had one good season. We don't know about Judy, and he went later. Like, don't get me wrong, I wanted Sutton, and I think he's going to be really good, but I think the disrespect for Judy has just gone too far. And between Cooks and Judy, I see a scenario where Cooks is, a top 15 receiver, like around that 15 range, but Judy could be a top 12, top 10 receiver if things break right. Like, we haven't seen him with a good quarterback with his route running. Like, I remember, did you draft him last year?
Yeah, it was my namesake.
He had a good week 1, right? Or no?
Yeah. He had a solid last year.
So I remember watching week 1 and I was like, this guy is really, like, he was like doing one little juke move and like defenders were falling over. And I was like, this guy's really good. And that game just enamored me and I haven't been able to shake it since. I know he got hurt and came back and wasn't good, but I kind of throw out the rest of the season. Like, I saw the one game, I'm like, this guy has the talent. He's got Russell Wilson. Like, he can't just throw to Sutton. Wilson threw to DK and Lockett, and they were both talented individuals. And I think Judy can outperform where he was drafted. And one pick after me, 2 CC in my division, and I play in week 1. So I'm a little nervous. Harris and Penny went way too late. What'd they go? They went 9-6 and 9-7. I took Tony 9-5. That's
Tony could be good. Tony's
in the draft board. You guys baited me. Okay. The whole league was like, oh, Tony was so good for the one game he put. I actually watched highlights today. That wasn't with Daniel Jones throwing. It was with Mike Glennon. So I kind of regret the pick.
I remember saying Tony, something positive about Tony. And then once you picked him, I said, I texted Jarvis and said, you're welcome. Because he was so desperate for a running back right there. Because that was right after the round before I picked Ramondre Stevenson and he panicked and took Miles Sanders and like choked.
Let's also be clear.
He didn't want Miles Sanders. I'm not saying
I've loved Tony all offseason. I just cooled on him, and that's the only reason I was debating. I like the talent. I think he could be really good. Harris and Penny are also good. So if one of them ends up being like an RB1, then I'll have some regrets.
I remember what I said. I said Kadarius Toney is Antonio Brown.
Yeah.
Wait, real quick. I'm going to cut you off about the Jerry Judy Sutton thing. I mean, the analogy to me is pretty simple. It's DK Metcalf to Sutton, both 6'4", and then Jerry Judy.
Lockett. Last one I'll just touch on real quick. It's Bateman. I don't like taking tight ends, especially the mid-round guys. They don't offer a ton of upside. Like Hawkinson has some upside, but he's not going to be Mark Andrews. Like versus like Cole Kmet and Pat Frymuth, I really like later. I think those are going to be solid floor guys. And Cole Kmet's really athletic. I think the dude's 6'6" or something. And like when you watch Justin Fields, he's looking for Cole Kmet all the time. So I was pretty locked into him in my 9th round pick. And I know Ethan got really happy when I took Hawkinson because he knew he was going to commit. His like 5th Chicago Bear player, I think. So that's the only one I'll say Bateman because, if I took him and then took Kmet later, it may have been a better move, but we'll find out. I'm still excited. I still love my team. You know how it is. You talk yourself into your team. Like Brandon Ayuk didn't have any intention to draft him. Now he's the number 1 receiver for the 49ers, and Trey Lance and him are going to be Cooper Kupp and Matt Stafford.
Yeah. So moving on to mine, I have Swift, Pitts, and Olave. So the first 2 we've already touched on. Obviously, as a Falcons fan, I'm super high on Pitts. I think he's going to be awesome. I think he's going to return the value of where he was taken. And my dumb self thought I was going to have a chance at him at the 3-8 spot. No way. Based on like what people responded with this, there was 4 guys in front of me that would have taken him. So
I've told you a few times on Pitts, my main hesitation with Pitts is he was drafted 3 spots behind Mark Andrews, who we've seen put in a tight end 1 finish, and we had Kyle Pitts, who we haven't, and his whole question surrounding him is questionable, but he should get all the targets. He should be good. I mean, like, it's just that simple, but that's my reason I was a little scared of him, but I know a lot of people had him on their list.
yeah. And then
But is there a world where Pitts is going in the mid first round next year? I could easily see it. The dude's a receiver playing tight end. He could easily be one of the greatest talents playing tight end we've ever seen, fantasy purposes, right? Because he's not a blocker. He plays receiver, and you get to put him in your tight end slot. It's that simple.
Olave. Oh, I'm big on the Saints offense. I feel like they haven't got much attention. Like Kamara, his draft capital kind of got hurt because of his pending suspension. That's probably not even going to happen. And then for the most part, no one else has really talked about. I know Michael Thomas. I'm not really sure what the deal is with him. Slant boy probably can't do anything. Olave, I watched him in college. He passed the eye test for me, and I've been drooling about him since. So I wanted him, but it didn't work out. So the next round I took George Pickens, and I took Drake London. I took a lot of rookie receivers. That was one of my draft notes from last year. I was like, take some shots. So we'll see if it pans out. And if my 3 miss and Olave hits, I'm going to be very disappointed. Oh, and then one thing I'll throw on with Swift and just the lines in general. I don't know what their Vegas win total is, but I think they're going to win at least 7 games this year. I think they're going to be kind of good.
Are they going to win the game against Green Bay that we're going to?
I hope so. Because that means lots of
points. You're going to be rooting for Aaron
Jones.
You're going to be rooting for Aaron Jones. I don't want to hear you. You're like, 3rd touchdown, you're going to be wearing a Lions jersey. You're like, yeah, let's go. You're when I was rooting for Golden Tate wearing a Saints shirt in the Superdome. Noah has Isaiah McKenzie, Damian Pierce, and Michael Gallup. So that's another Gallup mention. That's kind of crazy considering that's a 10th round guy.
Yeah.
We already touched on it, so I don't want to elaborate too much. Damian Pierce. I think that's some of his hometown bias. Pierce, I think Pierce is a great pick if you went like hero RB like Jarvis did. And Jarvis didn't end up with him. But like, to me, he's just a guy. And we haven't seen him in the NFL, so it's kind of unfair to say. But you're looking at a guy who isn't in line to receive the passing down work on a bad Texans offense who is going to be playing from behind a lot of the time. I mean, I think he's probably going to he's like a Mike Davis last year. That's how he's going to get 8 to 12 points a week just because he's going to get some dump offs. He's going to get 50 yards on 20 carries.
Not a lot of touchdowns.
Not a ton of touchdowns. Burkhead might even be the goal line back, to be honest, because he's like that 3rd down role. But
yeah, I still think it's a good value though. In the 7th round, you're getting a starting running back that has looked really good so far and has a high PFF grade. So
true.
He's
looked electric. He's looked electric. So I don't want to hate on him, but like, to me, he's better as like your RB2 when your receivers are stacked than as like a flex spot when you already have 2 or 3 good running backs.
I also thought it was interesting that Noah had 2 wide receiver 3s for the team. So like Gallup is Gallup wide receiver 3?
He'll be the 2 when he comes back, but right now he might be the 3rd target because Schultz may be the 2nd target. So,
but I think Isaiah McKenzie is a pretty good pick too. I'm not even sure where he went in the draft, to be honest.
Like 13th or 12th or something. I really wanted Isaiah McKenzie because I mean, we don't know between him and Gabe Davis, and they could both be good. That's the thing.
Yeah. I mean, that's an offense you want to be a part of.
CC and Cole did not answer, so I'm going to go ahead and pick one for Cole, and you can pick one for CC. Okay, just pick the most CC player. For Cole, I'm going to say he's really depressed. He didn't get 2 players, right? He's really depressed. He didn't get Aaron Rodgers. That's his boy. He always seems to draft Aaron Rodgers. And then he's really sad that Dalton Schultz didn't make it back to his. He really wanted the turn of Waller and Schultz at the 5-6. For his second tight ends, but he didn't make it to him. So
when he said, "Guys, don't let Waller fall to the turn," I lost it.
And then he was serious. He picked him, and I can't blame him. That was good value, but yeah. I disagree with the Gesicki pick at 11th when he only had. We're not going to get into it because we'll talk about that quick with our power rankings. But yeah.
Where was Kareem Hunt taken?
Ethan picked him. Yep, 7-11.
Oh yeah. So I mean, that was picked just 5 picks before
So I actually think that's CC's player because he was gonna pick him in 7-6, but then he decided to auto draft that pick. So then he
yeah. So that's one you wish he has back. But I will say, I'll save it. I'll save it for the power rankings about CC's draft. But
okay.
Yeah, let's move on.
All right. Moving on to the power rankings. All right, Jake, list just readers off in order, going from 12 to 1, of course.
All right.
And then I'll read mine from 12 to 1, and we'll just touch on good and bad points, and I'll see if there's any crazy differences.
Okay. Number 12, I have Cole, then Parker, Mike, Matt, Ethan, Zach, Jarvis, Cece, Brandon, Jake, Noah, and then number 1, Grant.
We are vastly different on one person in specific, and so drastic. You're probably in your bottom 3 or 4, and they're my number 1. I've got Cole at 12, Parker at 11. Who do you have 10?
Mike.
Okay, I've got Mike at 8. So I'm pretty agree. I like Mike's team. Once he kind of like, I liked his team up until Bateman, but then Edwards, Allaire, Goddard, Claypool, Robinson, Gainwell, Collins. I don't think any of those guys. I mean, Edwards, Allaire, and Goddard will be, but I don't think Claypool, Brian Robinson, Gainwell, Nico Collins will be on his roster by week 3 or 4.
Yeah, so I actually agree. I didn't like DK Metcalf, and then I wish he committed to the 0 RB a little bit more, because in the 5th round he took J.K. Dobbins, who I also happen to not like. And then he also got dinged for being leveraged with one team. And I'll just go ahead and say, for Ethan, that's what kept me down on his rankings. Like, you don't want to be tied to the Bears offense. Sorry. Like,
so
he has a lot of players. And
so that was your number 10, right? Was Mike?
Yeah, Mike was 10. I truthfully though, I did like Mike's team, other than his running backs. And yeah, his later drafts.
Did you see that Cole and Parker were a bottom tier, and then like 5 through 10 were like a pretty similar tier, or like 6 through 10 or something like that? Because that's how I saw it.
Oh yeah. I think Zach, Ethan, Matt, Mike had like parts of their draft I loved, and then other parts I was like, maybe not. Or like with the team situation being, the Ravens are a good offense though. The Ravens or the Bears or whatever.
So your number 10 was Mike. Who was your number 9?
Matt.
I had Matt at 10, so I'm gonna fuel the fire a little bit more there. I like Cup, I like Connor, and I like Evans, but when you have Connor Evans on your team, that's one they ran too fast, pulled a hammy, and now your team sucks. Like, I worry about his team if one of those guys gets hurt. The way I see it is Connor and Evans are a health risk. Jacobs, Dylan, Kirk, and Lazard are all question marks. They're all question marks. I mean, Dylan probably should be good.
Dylan's good.
But like, he's still a question mark. He's still the RB2. If he does what he did last year, he's gonna be greatly disappointed with that pick. So like, Kirk and Lazard though are huge question marks. I think they're gonna have good seasons, but to me, like, we just don't know.
I think he had good. Yeah, he had good deep picks though. Like Brady,
I think Gallup,
Parker were awesome.
And I don't love him, but Singletary too, because Singletary could be the starting back there. I mean,
yeah, and Irv Smith too. That's the tight end I wanted, and he took him, so I had to wait, and I just waited 4 more rounds. But
I'll say about Matt, I hate his middle rounds. That's why I put him low, but I think his team has a lot of upside, and I think he could do good for the right management.
Oh yeah, like his starters will be good. It's the depth, and if his starters can't stay starters, that's when it gets a little question mark. But yeah, again reiterating those 4 teams right there. I really do like. This draft was very even, I think.
Yep, I agree.
Let's talk about Ethan's team.
I'm going to say that for last. Let's say that for last, because I want to go.
Right. So
he's my number 1, so I'm going to defend his team.
Yeah. So let's talk about Zach's real quick.
I have Zach at 9. Here's why I put him at 9. Drafted players that he didn't necessarily love just because he felt like they were values, and I feel like that's always a trap. His team could be so good though if they perform like they can. Like Debo and Chubb, where he got them, Debo and Chubb could both be first round picks if they perform like they can, right? I mean, it's just that simple. I don't personally like either of them that much. And then he went Deontay Johnson, who I like, but then Breece Hall, major question mark, could be good. Hopkins out for the first 6 games. Mitchell, I like. I could just see, like, with I think Hopkins really hurt his team for me, because with Breece Hall, the rookie, he's going to come on at the end of the season. You got Hopkins, who's going to come on at the end of the season. If he can get in the playoffs, he could very well win it. And that's what he was going for. But I worry about him getting in. That's what
Yep. He has such a good core of running backs. And even honestly, his receiver room's good, but it's good when Hopkins is back. So yeah, it's again, I like most parts of his team.
Zach's gonna finish the year really strong, I think. And that's why a lot of the times he gets 7th. And
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. I was like, he always finishes strong in the conversation.
Who do you have above Zach?
So that's my tier break that you just created in my head. I have
Yep.
Jarvis.
That's mine too. I had Mike at 8, which I think we're kind of caught up because I didn't have Ethan there. So 7, 6, 5. I had CC at 7, Noah at 6, Jarvis at 5. Is that similar to yours?
So I have Noah at 2, but yeah, CC and Jarvis right there. Let's just break down Jarvis real quick. I think his draft was pretty solid until I didn't like the Miles Sanders pick, and I don't think he did either.
I agree.
And Penny was a nice bounce back though.
Penny was so lucky he fell to him there. Like if he doesn't get Penny there, I significantly like his team a lot less. Like if he's like, let's just replace y'all's 2 picks. If he takes Pickens there, I think his team drops down like 2 or 3 spots.
Because yeah, Pickens would not make sense on his team.
Because he needs the RB.
Yeah. And honestly, I got lucky that he drafted the way he did because it made my life a little bit easier. For a Jarvis draft, this is probably one of his best ones ever. I think I said that to you yesterday.
It's funny you did, but I always think Jarvis drafts pretty well. Like I always generally like his drafts. Like I think a lot of the players he picks are good. It's usually the in-season management. Like I think he has the base. He's got Dalvin. He's got Tyreek. He's got Higgins. He's got Schultz. He's got Jackson. He's going to have every week advantages at quarterback and tight end over most teams. But then he's got Godwin, Renfro, Sanders. Those players are all a little questionable, and he's going to need to find players that have on the waiver wire to fill in for those guys at times. And that's where we know Jarvis struggles.
Who's his like hype guy this year? He always has one. I think it's got to be one of his first 3 picks. Usually it's someone later, like he'll pick a rookie.
So,
I don't think he got any rookies this year.
I really like Isaiah McKenzie at 12-6.
Oh, did he? Oh, okay.
And I think MVS could outperform 10-6 too. And then obviously Godwin, if Godwin's healthy for week 1 or even week 2, like if he's healthy,
Yeah.
still 6-6. So
CC, CC had to log off some point in the middle of the draft. We'll say when he took Zach Ertz. But before then,
he logged back on after that and then logged off again, I think. So Ertz was an auto draft, but then I think he picked Ken Walker and Harris.
Yeah. I mean, all his picks were really good. The only parts that I didn't like was like the Dak pick, which was auto pick, and then the defense really soon. And then I personally didn't like this tight end pick in the 13th because that's when I needed a tight end, and I was going to take that Albert Aguila guy. It's just a bummer.
If CC had drafted rounds 10 on, I think I would like his team. I think he might be top 3 for me, and I have him at 7 because like I love Chase, like Barkley, like Elliott, like Mahomes, like Judy, like Thomas, like Ertz, right? And then after that, and I like Damian Harris, but after that, like kind of falls apart to me. And I don't know that I don't know that he can put together the squad with like Russ Gage, Ken Walker, and then his next best is Christian Watson. Like it gets hairy fast.
I do like his team though.
Okay, who's next?
So I have like a tier break there, and then Grant, Noah, Jake, Brandon. So let's do Noah because you had him in that last group.
Yeah, I got Noah at 6. Okay, here's why I have Noah at 6 is because he's got a lot of question marks at receiver, and as I've been on record, I'm not a massive Pitts fan, but I think Noah's team has the highest ceiling probably of all the teams because he has McCaffrey and Pitts, like and Javonte. Like,
I mean, his first 4 picks were awesome. I love it.
And I love Robinson. I like Herbert too. Like Herbert, and then you've got Moore, Smith, Lockett, Olave, and it's like. And I said this after the draft. If he can get 2 of those guys to work out, his team's top 3.
I think, and that's why he's number 2 for me. I think Olave's going to be amazing. Even on a bad team, I think Elijah Moore's the guy.
Here's why I ranked him as low as I did. And this is no disrespect to you, Noah. Strictly because what if they don't hit their upside and what if they hit their downside? I think his downside's really low. Like really low, like bottom 3 low. So say McCaffrey gets hurt, and I don't wish it upon anyone, but he's had a bad history the last 2 seasons, bad luck, right? Let's say Pitts does what he did last year. Pitts was unstartable for most of the year. I don't know if you guys actually looked at his points. Like he had like 5 points a lot of the weeks. Like he had 50 yards on 1 catch, so he had a lot of yards, but like he just wasn't a good fantasy asset except for 1 or 2 weeks where he boomed. And then Javonte Williams, if it's a 50-50 timeshare, then like that's going to be a sad day for Noah. Allen Robinson, if Stafford has his elbow issues, Herbert's going to be good. I'm not worried about Herbert. But then Elijah Moore, Smith, Lockett, and Olave could all be bad. And so if those things go wrong, like, and you can say that about every team. So I don't want to be like, but I just see the potential for him to be bad with the team. But I don't think so. I think his team's going to, one or two of those players are going to be the studs they can be, like McCaffrey. And then he's going to build around it with his waiver wire because he's good at the waiver wire and he's going to build around his studs and make a great team.
Yep. I'll talk about your team real quick and then you can talk about mine. I'm a little mixed on playoff Lenny. I know the negative news came out today, but I really don't think that guy in the comment section negated what the thing was.
100%. I should have not sent that, but I wanted to just send it.
I know you love Brandon Cooks, and I do, but also I'm just scared of bad teams, even though I have some bad guys on my team that are on bad teams too. So I'm a little hypocritical not liking Cooks, but I also do like him. I'm not a Lance guy, but I've told you this. If the fact that you did Ayuk and Lance, that could be huge. And one thing we didn't see much this year is the QB wide receiver stack, which normally there's like 4 or 5 teams with it. I think there's only a couple this year. And I think if those work out, your team is going to be scary because those guys were so late too.
Yeah, I've got to get Lance or Rodgers has to, if they can emerge to be like a top 6 quarterback, my team is very scary. But I think I've got a good base. Like you said, I don't think it's anything like you're like, it's not a powerhouse from week 1, but I think if I can get 1 or 2 guys to add, or if Ayuk or Tony, like if just one of those guys can be half of what their potential is, then I could have a pretty good team.
All right, quickly talk about mine.
I put you 2: Najee, Aaron Jones, AJ Brown, Josh Allen, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Gabe Davis, Drake London, Stevenson. Everybody but Najee on your of your first 8 picks were on my draft board, and I really like, and I've drafted them a lot in other leagues. So that's why I like your team so much. Najee scares me. He's going to get the volume, but we just talked about with Brandon Cooks. I'm scared of bad teams. Yep. Scared of who's going to be quarterback. What if they don't dump it down as much?
Have a bad O-line.
I watched him last year. Half of his points came from 3-yard receptions. So if that doesn't happen, you could be a little worried. Aaron Jones. I love Aaron Jones. I think he's going to be great. He's going to be the wide receiver 1 for the Packers, as we talked about. AJ Brown, I was a little skeptical on. He's a stud, though. I think even if Hurts isn't great, I think he still can be a wide receiver 1/wide receiver 2 for you. Josh Allen, you got an every week advantage over every single team in the league. It's that simple. You may not score him, but you know you're going to plug him in. You don't worry about the mental battle of who you're going to start at QB. He's just going to be a beast. St. Brown, solid 5th-round pick. Nothing. I don't think it's anything to write home about, but I think it's a solid guy. You're in Michigan. It's perfect for you. Gabe Davis could be the steal of the draft right there. I've already been over Drake London. He's Kyle Pitts, but 5 rounds later. Stevenson, I love me some Ramondre Stevenson.
Me too.
I said it all last year. I'm like, this guy is way more talented than Damian Harris. So that's your team.
I would definitely admit that my receiver room is weak, and it's probably the weakest I've ever had. But I think I have some sneaky depth that over time they could be amazing.
They're not top tier, but you've got 4 solid guys, so I wouldn't be too stressed about it.
Okay. So for Grant's team, I think consensus was like he was 2 or 3. He's the guy. So like you're saying, I took a lot of guys on your board. He took a lot of guys on my board, and I think he took a lot of guys on a lot of people's boards. Henry falling late, that's just such a Grant thing to happen.
That's crazy. To the 10th pick, if you told a lot of casual leagues, they'll think you play in we play in a scrub league, but like are scared. Yeah.
And I love the Swift pick. I know some people may not, but I think those 2 guys have just ridiculous upside.
Both top 5 potential.
And his receiver room is so much fun. They're on great offenses. Dang, like he's gonna be really good. Oh,
I don't love Marquise Brown. I don't know what it is about him. Something about him I always don't like, but I think him and Murray, since they're little college buddies, could just go crazy.
Yep, that stack.
And he got the stack.
I'm not crazy about Cordell this year. That's just me though.
I think it was good value though.
Yeah, love Burks. I wanted Dawson Knox late. In round 5, I was like, I'm gonna get Knox, but then I ended up taking Gabe Davis, so I was like, no, I can't do that.
I don't love any of his picks after Kyler, except for I do like McKissick.
You like Burks?
I think he has the talent, but he's got a Jamar Chase situation going on with me where he's gotten a lot of bad press out of camp. That's kind of scared me off.
Fair enough. You're actually right. I don't like anyone below Sky Moore. I think those guys are all going to be dropped and forgotten about. JD McKissick, you guys are raving about. I just don't see it. But
Well, here's the thing. He's been like a low end RB2/flexible player with Gibson, like in the past already. We've already seen the hate out of Gibson. Like he literally got benched for Brian Robinson, and now Brian Robinson got shot. So I wouldn't be surprised if McKissick ended up with 10 carries and all the third down work for the team, and Gibson ended up with like 10 carries a game.
I mean, I can get sold on it, but it's in the 11th round, so he's got a good team though.
Let's move on to Ethan's team. Ethan's still a green dot, so he's still looking at his fantasy lineup, by the way.
It's hilarious. And I've been watching it. He's been going in and out too. So it's like he's not just like sitting idle. He's
Ethan's team. So I would like you to start by what you don't like about it.
Well, what I don't like is very obvious. It's the leverage with the Bears, who have like the only team worse than them offensively right now is the Falcons. So I'm just not big on them. I'm not a Hurts guy, but I'm gonna start having to be because I have AJ Brown. So I put him at what? I put him at 8, but this was last night before I'd watched AJ Brown hype video, and when I found out that AJ Brown and Hurts were best friends. So Hurts is gonna be amazing.
All right.
I don't know. I just think he has a great receiving room, and Alvin Kamara is gonna be awesome too. I'm just not really big on anyone else.
CeeDee Lamb, love the guy. I think he's gonna be a top 5 receiver this year. I think he's gonna get 160 targets from Dak. I think the dude has shown the flash. Anyone who's a hater to me is similarly fall in the Judy category. I'm like, I get he didn't do it last year. He had Cooper there, but like, I just think he's gonna be the guy. I think he's gonna ascend. Kamara, didn't like him early this offseason, love him now. I mean, I don't think the suspension's happening. For Ethan's sake, I hope it doesn't. But for people in Ethan's division, I'm sure they're hoping it does.
Isn't it crazy that nothing has changed since last year to this year with Kamara, other than his offense just got better? And because of the suspension, he's been sitting in round 2 the entire offseason, and there's just no reason for it. There really is no reason.
Pretty crazy. I love DJ Moore. I think he gets a bump with Baker. I think he's a safe floor guy, even if he's just the guy he has been. But I think I like some DJ Moore. I was really hoping he'd make it to the 4th. I knew he won it to my 4th. I mean, Montgomery is the only pick of his I really don't like that much. I think he has the talent, and I think he could be good enough. Like we've shown he could be an RB1. I think he had a top 5 finish one year. Thielen and Mooney, I love. Both of them I was hoping to make to the 6th. I hyped them up to Ethan. Ethan liked him before. I'm not saying I made him pick him, but I'm sure me talking about him off season didn't help. Kareem Hunt didn't love, but has the upside. I love Hurts. I think to me, I love Hurts and Kmet, and that's why I have him as my number 1. Right? I think Hurts could be a league winner. I think his floor is QB 10. I think his ceiling is QB 1.
I mean, that's absurd. That's absurd. You're saying his floor is QB 10. I think his ceiling is.
He finished like QB 5 last year. You're gonna tell me he did? You watched the games. You know he did terrible last year.
Yeah, he sucks.
Do you think he's gonna do worse than last year with AJ Brown on his team?
Yes, I do. Because
there's no way.
So many yards on garbage time. They're down. Eagles are down 40 points a week. He can't win games.
The Eagles made the playoffs. I think
they're not good, but they got.
I don't know. I don't know if they did or not. Actually, I actually think the Cowboys made the playoffs and the Eagles didn't, so I'm not so sure anymore. But I think Kmet's a good option. And then look, you got Darrell Henderson. He could be the RB1 in LA. People are not talking about. Akers wasn't practicing like a week ago. There's some weird stuff going on there. Michael Carter is currently the starter. I don't love him, but it's a good upside pick. James Robinson, that's Ethan's guy. I'm not going to talk about him. Hamler and Wandale Robinson, or however you say it. I think those guys, like the people who hate Judy, should be taking Hamler in the 10th. Who's locking? Is it Judy or is it Hamler? It could be Hamler. Robinson, somebody's got to get the slot targets for the Giants. That's a valuable role for the Giants, as crazy as that sounds. And then Anderson, I like the Anderson pick too, as crazy. It's a 15th round pick, and I'm talking about it. Here's why, Jake. You watch the first 2 weeks with Robbie Anderson with Baker Mayfield. If he's garbage, like he probably is going to be, you drop him. It's the easiest drop in the world.
That doesn't happen. That doesn't happen with Robbie Anderson, though. He's going to get 25 points week 1, and then Ethan's going to string him along the whole season, and he's not going to make playoffs. and if he does drop him, Robbie's going to be amazing. So I'm going to pick him up.
I really like his team. I think Hurts and Kmet are great option for how late he got him, and I love his receiver. I just think it's
actually a good team. So all right. So when you went through that, you reminded me why didn't like his team as much as you. Kareem Hunt, backup. Darrell Henderson, backup. Michael Carter. I actually love Michael Carter. I think he's a starter right now, but he is a backup. James Robinson, backup. Like those are like talented guys. They're on all bad teams minus Darrell Henderson, and they're backups. Like
I think Henderson might be the starter, and that's
I think Henderson's a lot better than Akers. I think Akers' pick at 3 was a joke. Really,
I like Akers, but he hasn't shown anything since he hurt his Achilles.
And then, so I do like the KJ Hamler pick. That is similar to my Joshua Palmer pick, but like 3 rounds later. So I respect that. It's on a high-powered offense. You're one injury away from him being an amazing receiver. I didn't really know who Wan'Dale Robinson was until you said it. I knew he was on the Giants. That was it. Robbie Anderson is. I think that was a waste of a pick, but that might come back to haunt me. Whatever. I'll be wrong on Robbie.
I think between Montgomery and Hunt, he can find a serviceable RB2, and then I think he's going to have to be fighting for one flex spot.
I do like his team up until his last flex spot, and then I'm like, this is meh. But anyway, yeah.
Ethan, I got you. All right. So one more thing we wanted to touch on before we closed up was division names. Jake had this idea last year, and we kind of just looked at it and thought it was a good idea this year, came back around on it, and we thought it was really good. So our division names are going to be the top 3 names from teams 10 years ago. So this year is 2022. So we went back to 2012 in Yahoo Fantasy and looked at what we thought were the best 3 team names that would also make sense for divisions, right? Like if a team name is really good but doesn't make sense for a division, we might not use it. It just kind of depends. But we came up with the Weaklings, Ninja Turtles, and Thunder Ducks, which was Jake, CC, and I's team. All pretty good names. And then in the Discord was the second division, and they claimed the name Thunder Ducks. So the Thunder Ducks division is Division 2 from last year. We drew names for the Weaklings and Ninja Turtles. So my division is the Weaklings, and Jake's division is Ninja Turtles.
Yeah, and I'll throw in, so moving forward, next year we'll do a vote on what teams are going to be like in candidates for the new division names. And then I think it'll get really fun once we get to 2014 because 2024, because we'll be getting to pull from teams that like everyone was in the league and was a part of. So I think it'll be a lot more fun for everyone then. But for now, you're just gonna have to suck it up and deal with our old like 7th grade middle school team names. But I
think that's why it makes it better right now. But I think every 10 years you just look back and like that's cringe. So it kind of works out.
Yeah, so. It's funny and like I obviously it was my idea, but I think it's a fun idea. So it'll be awesome.
I think that's all I had. We went really long. I don't know how long it's been.
We're so bad, man.
Grant, thank you for making us sound great last week. Guys, don't forget to give Grant a hand. This guy is just, I mean, we send him over videos and he edits it. I mean, I don't know if any of you have any experience with video editing. It takes a long time. It is really hard to do a lot of simple things. Like it used to take me an hour or 2 to edit the really, really bad podcast back in the season 1 days. Like,
and those were 10-minute long.
So just appreciate the thumbnails. It's alone probably taking 30 minutes. Like the thumbnails are good. Me and Jake are both glad because we can tell the difference between the podcasts.
Yeah, and it's not like he's just sitting around doing nothing all day. He already works a job and probably a job and a half because I know he does the video editing for YouTube. So yeah, appreciate all the help, Grant. It's been nice having just send this over to someone and they take care of it because we used to have to do it ourselves.
So thanks, Grant. Everyone, we're excited for a good season. Even Cole and Parker, who we ranked last, we still believe in you guys. I hope everybody has some good luck. I hope nobody gets injured this year. I hope it's just a no injury kind of NFL year.
Real quick, I'll encourage everyone to go watch 2021 hype videos or highlights of your players. It will put you.
I've been doing it all day.
Me too. Yeah,
it's so good.
This season is going to be awesome. I'm really looking forward to it.
All right. Well, that's all we have. Sorry for running long. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. I'm signing out. This is Game Time Greatness Commissioner and GG2 and GG3 champ. And then along with my co-host
Rex. See you guys. I will be GG12 champ.